This is the UR Business Network.
Hi, and welcome to the New York Real Estate Journal radio show. I'm Eric Wilson alongside the recently crowned racquetball champion, Rick Kaplan. How are we doing today, Rick?
I'm doing fantastic, Eric, and right. I appreciate you acknowledging that I am a professional racquetball player.
You are.
World tours.
Part-time journal employee, full-time racquetball champ, I know.
And you know, I have been playing racquetball for over 30 years.
And you're like the only people that do it.
I know. Why is it a dying sport? I don't understand that.
I don't either. But you can see a lot local gyms are closing down their racquetball courts. But,
well, I think it's because it takes up a lot of property.
Right, space.
And it doesn't bring in that kind of revenue.
And there's just not as many players as there once was, I'm sure. Everybody that you play with has been playing 30 years.
Yeah, well, you know, I think because the sport is so difficult to play that most people don't want to get into it.
It's such a great athlete to actually participate.
And an enormous amount of training that's involved.
Yeah, right? What, chicken wings and beers?
Yes,
That's how you guys celebrate after you play.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's part of playing racquetball.
But before we go on, this show is brought to you by the New York Real Estate Journal, celebrating commercial real estate for over 25 years, as we just celebrated our anniversary. Find us at NYREJ.com. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of the show, call 800-654-4993 or email us at radio@nyrej.com. Again, that's 800-654-4993 or email us at radio@nyrej.com. Today we have Lina Gottesman, who will join us on the phone in a minute, from Altus Metal, Marble, and Wood, and they do restoration and construction for ornamental stone. Totally don't know anything about it, so I'm really excited to get her on the phone here shortly so we can find out.
Yeah, we don't talk much about the materials that are used for construction.
Right, the decorative stuff too as well. Yeah. And what she's going to do with, gargoyle statues is like what I always think about. I know you're thinking, but
where do you think of it?
Because I always think of New York City as Gotham for Batman comics, and I grew up on comics, so I always think of ornamental stuff as like gargoyles on top of churches or.
It's funny you bring that up because my grandfather was a master mason, and he used to do a lot of that stonework. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the stonework that he would do would be on the building. Really? So that's a long time ago.
Yeah, so you're talking. Hopefully, they had the same kind of safety equipment that GSI, or was it GSE?
Yeah, no, they didn't have any safety equipment. That's how my grandfather died. He fell 8 stories. He fell off the building.
Way to bring that up to the show.
I know.
Little doom and gloom in the
cheering everyone up for the day.
Yeah, right. Well, hopefully, Lina will get us a little bit more information. So let's get her on the phone.
That sounds great.
And we're joined now by Lina Gottesman, the president, principal, and founder of Altus Metal, Marble, and Wood. How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Lina, why don't you tell us a little bit about what Altus Metal, Marble, and Wood is and the services you provide?
Altus Metal, Marble, and Wood is a restoration and maintenance company. We restore architectural metal, stone, wood. We do specialty finishes on metal, all types of metal for the construction industry. And we restore all types of natural stone and all types of wood as well.
So who is the typical person that would need these services? Would it be like churches, medical facilities?
All of the above. We work for all types of commercial properties. We work for churches, synagogues, public agencies. We work for the construction industry doing new patina work on metal before it's installed. So we do have a large range of clients.
Now, Lina, the marble and the stone, is that sort of coming back into the construction industry? Because I think it might have faded out a little for a while.
Well, it seems to me that a lot of the natural materials are coming back. The natural bronzes, the natural marble and granite. It seems like they're starting to use a little bit more wood than they were years ago. I think that the modern look that we were looking at for many, many years might be want to move toward a more traditional, and I think that's where some of the more traditional materials come in.
Lina, a question was posed to me by our producer of the show here at the UR Business Network. What do you guys do if, say, the wood that you're restoring is no longer allowed to be shipped in here to America? What if it's something like, for whatever reason, from Russia, because we have these sanctions and stuff like that. How do you work around those type of
obstacles?
Obstacles, thank you. I was thinking objects, but I was way off.
There are, first of all, many resources for wood, for supplying wood. And here in America, we have tried to help the process by preserving the rainforest and proving upon that through the building of LEED-generated buildings, meaning that we try to make the build sustainable. Mm-hmm. So I think that more and more we are going to be looking for wood that is sustainable wood as opposed to just something really special from somewhere.
Okay.
Now, Lina, as far as synthetics that are coming into play, because I know a lot of the wood that they use, at some places they're using synthetic wood. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you get involved in?
No, I only restore natural wood, and I only work in natural woods. Much of the wood that you might consider artificial is actually wood that's laminated over with maybe artificial, coatings. Mm-hmm. But a lot of it may have a wood base as well.
So now, as far as the stone, now when you go into some like a restoration, and some of these buildings they have some beautiful stonework, and they also have marble floors. Mm-hmm. Is it common now that they're taking up the marble and they're putting down the wood that you're saying is more traditional?
No, they're not picking up marble and putting down wood. Wood that I see being used more is being used as a decorative around entryways, mm-hmm. as panels, wall panels. Wood flooring is quite difficult unless it's a very specialized area because of the maintenance required.
Right, I was going to touch upon that. Is the maintenance after you restore, older buildings to bring them back to life, so to speak? Is there a lot of maintenance and upkeep that goes along with, say, restoring, ornamental stone or something like that?
There is upkeep, and what we do very often is we do an initial historic, possibly, restoration of the marble, let's say, mm-hmm. and then we present an ongoing maintenance program where maybe every 6 months or whatever the building needs may be, mm-hmm. we'll come back and we will just hone and polish some of the high traffic areas so that the entire area remains in a uniform, shiny, and beautiful appearance. And that's what we do for many commercial buildings.
Now, what do you find is the most easy to maintain out of the products?
Out of which product?
Out of the metal, marble,
stone, the metal, or the wood?
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, I'm saying out of all three. Which
one do you is the easiest for you you and your company to upkeep or perform maintenance on?
Well, that's a very interesting question because it's not easy in all the areas because we do very similar processes in all three things. Let's say we're going to restore a piece of brass, a piece of white Carrara marble, and a piece of historic oak wood. What we have to do to all three of them is strip coatings, repair any scratches or nicks or problems with it, and then we have to either sand it. In the stone, we have to hone and polish as well, and in the metal and in the wood, we'd have to stain and relacquer. So the processes are actually fairly equal in their difficultness, or however you want to put it.
So when someone is looking to restore or even to put up a new construction, do you look at like the weather situations, how the building is going to be,
the temperature inside,
and how much traffic is going to be going through the building, things like that when you're trying to make recommendations to these clients?
we have been brought in to make recommendations prior to building certain facilities because of the maintenance aspect of some of these surfaces. And actually, I've been called in by some very large construction companies to give them an idea on, can we use this metal in this area? And if you choose a non-directional finish stainless steel for an area where you're going to have people coming in and brushing across it, that wouldn't be a reasonable surface to use, because all that non-directional swirly lines that give it the character can be brushed away by people scratching up against it. It's things like that would be important for someone building in the design phase. Let's put it that way.
You've been doing this for quite some time now. It goes back even further than just you doing this restoration as well, right?
Oh, yeah. My dad, my grandparents who came to America in, I believe, 1908, and then started working in the masonry and stone business, and that's where my dad and my uncles all built a very excellent business here on Long Island. And I certainly had my share of rides in the big trucks when I was growing up. So I think that did shape some of my future.
And what does Altus mean, the actual name? What does it mean, and where did the name come from?
Well, the Altus is a Greek mythological bird, which is the symbol of excellence. And you've seen the word Altus referred to as something quite high in Greek mythology. So as I read about the word Altus, it meant committed to excellence. And I said, perfect. That's exactly the way I was raised to look at business. My dad always said, if you do a really good job and you're always fair with your clients, you will always have work. And my dad was right.
We were just talking before we called you. My grandfather was also a mason, and probably the same era.
Yeah, right.
Probably in 1908. And he used
that would be my grandfather.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's my grandfather.
Yeah, right. You guys.
Oh.
But he used to do a lot of the sculpture work right on the building, as opposed to now. I think they do it in some warehouse, and then they'll bring it up and they'll put it up.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Is that what you do? You do that, Lina, when you restore these, say, like a stone statue? Do you bring it back to a shop somewhere and then fix it and then bring it back to the building and place it, or do you do the work right there in the building?
It depends on the statue. I have to say most of the statues we work on are stationary and in place. I maintain quite a few statues throughout New York, and I don't want to start mentioning names, but they are all in place, and some of them are bronze and some of them are stone. If repair is needed, we generally will try to do it on site as a rule.
Dan, do you typically only work in Manhattan, New York City, or do you cover a wider area?
Oh, we are extensively in the tri-state area, although we have done major projects up in Providence, Rhode Island, and we are certified with the state of Rhode Island as a woman-owned business as well. And we've done work all the way down to Philly and a little further, actually, at times, depending on the project.
Nice.
But mostly on the East Coast.
Okay.
Now, because it's a specialty type thing, is it a lot of competition?
There is a significant amount of competition, but probably not as much as some of the more general trades that you would find.
Now, what is it you love about construction, the restoration industry, the most? Like, what drew you? I know that your grandfather and your father was into it. What drew you to this industry, seeing as it is construction and restoration?
Let me tell you, there is something magical about watching something that is really old and looks really, really damaged or hurt or not like it was originally intended, and to be able to bring it back to life is just, I can't tell you how wonderful that feels, at least to me. We have quite a few projects that I could tell you how I felt about them in the same way. We feel that we have helped preserve some of the historic sites here in New York City, and some very iconic ones.
Almost like you feel towards me, Eric.
Yeah, right. That's how I wake up every day going to work feeling about Rick. No, it's kind of bizarre because as a society we tend to think of construction as a man's job. Obviously, that's society's ignorance. There's many successful women in construction, you being one of them. If you had to pass on one thing to more young women pursuing this same career, what would they be?
Acquire the most knowledge you possibly can about your trade. Knowledge is power. I've seen it over and over again.
Well, obviously, you must have a lot of knowledge of this industry because you came from generations of it. That has to contribute to your success.
I'm sure it has.
Now, Lina, we're going to come closing up this interview here with a couple more questions. On your website, I was actually on there the other day, and you guys, I noticed that you had a blog. What are some of the things that you discuss or share on your blog?
Well, I like to share seasonal maintenance tips on how to keep certain problems from occurring in your buildings for all my commercial clients. Mm-hmm. I like to talk about important historic projects that I may have completed recently, and I blog about that. I'm putting up a new blog for something quite like that, just like that shortly. And I think that I try to help my clients not only know about what I'm doing, but also know my capabilities and share information. Mm-hmm. Because again, sharing information is quite helpful to clients.
It is. I really appreciate you coming on, Lina, and talking to us about restoration and what goes into the type of business that you have, which is Altus Metal, Marble, and Wood. And if someone wanted to get a hold of you and learn more about these processes or even ask some more information for you, how would they go about that?
Well, they could either email us at altusmm.com or call our office at 212-629-1089.
All right. Thank you so much, Lina. We appreciate you coming on and telling us about this industry.
Thank you, Lina. It was very informative.
All right.
Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. That was Lina Gottesman, the principal, president, and founder of Altus Metal, Marble, and Wood. And she talked to us about restoration and of commercial stone and ornamental wood, stone, brass, bronze, things like that. And wow, did she provide a lot of information. Before the show, we were talking about coming on here and learning about this, and I have more questions than I had before I even started the show.
I like to teach, so you're welcome to ask me anything you like.
All right, we appreciate it, and we will. Thank you so much for listening to the New York Real Estate Journal radio show. I'm Eric Wilson, alongside the recently crowned racquetball champion, Rick Kaplan.
Thank you, Eric.
See you next time.
You're listening to the UR Business Network.